everyone, and welcome to another exhibit tip speed build for Jurassic World Evolution 2. This time for a vehicle flipping Spinosaurus. I absolutely love the physics in this game. It is amazing. Jurassic World Evolution physics are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. I also had a little bit of a sad realization, a disillusionment, if you will, while building this exhibit, but I'll talk about that later and we'll see if you agree or not. Anyway, about the build, I suppose it is another 2-for-1 since I've combined a Spinosaurus exhibit with a Liopleurodon lagoon, so if you want to like and subscribe, that'll be awesome. This is a massive build with 4 separate guest sections surrounding it, from where you could have paths branch out further into your park in any direction. So I think it would be a really cool center point for your park. And of course, both the Spinosaurus and the Liopleurodon can be replaced with whatever species you feel is worthy of being at the center of your build. So just as a little FYI, you know, fill in with whatever kind of dinosaur or marine reptile that you want. But I do really enjoy using the lagoon as one half of the exhibit barrier, as I've done here. And I will be repeating that in the future. So what I built here with the path, and what I'm deleting right now, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit behind the times, was just a scaffold to make sure that the fences of the exhibit itself were angled the way I wanted them to, so they came out perfectly straight from the little curved top of the lagoon. I'm placing viewing galleries, a tour, and there are also underwater viewing galleries and viewing towers. So this exhibit lagoon combination has every single type of viewing attraction that we have in the game. It is supposed to be a big attraction within the park. Like I said, I would suggest, or in my head, this would be the center point of the park, and basically, you know, all roads lead to Rome. Well, in a park, all paths would lead to one of the 4 guest sections that surround this exhibit. So northeast, southwest, there's all going to be guest sections there that the paths are going to lead to from different parts of your park. Now, the idea here was to really separate the two. So the viewing galleries, they look at one side of the quote-unquote mountain range, and the viewing towers across from the lagoon have a look at the section at the other side of the mountain range. So you get 2 different viewing experiences. And I really like the use of the viewing towers across from the gallery. It works quite well. I just imagine that there'd be like binoculars in the viewing tower, so you can have a good look across the lagoon, but of course also look down into the lagoon where there's a well, what would you call it? A school of Liopleurodon? Or would you call it a pack? Or would you just call it, let's just call it a family. There's a family of Liopleurodon swimming in the lagoon. Now, about the sad realization that I had, and it's about this, it's about terrain work. I thought I would really love building on the desert map, and this is my first creative build on a desert map. But I didn't. I didn't like it, and that's all to do with, well, not terrain work as a whole. I do like the terrain paints, but specifically it has to do with the foliage. Thankfully, there is one brush that generates a fair amount of trees, you know, fluffy, colorful trees, and you'll see me use that quite a bit later on in the build when I quote-unquote discovered it. But even with that brush, the trees are really sparse, and of course they don't even really feel like they belong in this particular biome anyway. The cacti and the palm trees and all the other foliage is very few and far between when you use the brush, and the result is a really empty environment, both the exhibits and the guest area. And I used a lot of rocks during this build to fill it out a little bit. I probably went overboard, but it felt so empty. Without me. Did you guys run into the same issue building on the desert map? Because I don't know, I really feel like I might not enjoy building a full park in this biome, which is really disappointing because it's so different from what we're used to from the first game. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The game really needs the return of the individually placeable trees, especially the desert really needs it in my opinion. But Anyway, midway through this build, I really wasn't feeling it, and I kind of regretted not building this exhibit in another biome. Here you saw me placing some rocks. That's only a teeny tiny smidgen of the amount of rocks I've placed, okay? There are so many rocks. You'll see it at the end of the video with all of the overview shots, I'm guessing. But yeah, I was kind of regretting building it in the desert biome as opposed to another biome. I think it's gonna look so different in another biome, and better, probably. But for this series of exhibit building videos, I did want to switch between the maps, and I made a commitment and all that, but I don't know, I think a tropical or temperate map probably would have been best. If you're gonna recreate this exhibit or take inspiration from it, let me know in a comment down below which biome you will be building in. And by the way, if you are doing some of my builds or doing your own creative work and you want to share it with the community, don't forget that there is an Evolution Squared Discord where you can share screenshots. We actually just wrapped up a mini Christmas Battle of the Builders competition, and there will be more of those in 2022, so if you want to show off your work, definitely consider joining. We're about almost at 3,000, so join. It gets weird there, but it's fun. Weird is fun. Anyway, back to the build. So here I'm building the first guest section. Let's call this the southern guest section. It's one of the two larger ones that I really built out. There's 4 in total, but the 2 on the sides, so let's say west and east, I didn't flesh them out fully, because that's really what you would do as you build the park around it, you know, as you figure out how to put other exhibits around this particular one, this centerpiece. That's when you would flesh out those guest sections. But this is just an example of what I did. So this is the southern one. I used the gray paths. A lot of planters, as I always do. I do really like using just you know, these open spaces with the paths, but sectioning them off with planters and lights, giving them a different path color to separate it a little bit, and then creating a seating section. This would be the, I guess, the western guest section, but it's really miniature what I did, and it just connects to the underwater viewing galleries on that side. And this will be the northern one with the viewing galleries that overlook one half of the exhibit, and it connects to the tours as well. I didn't really have a plan going into this build with regards to what the guest sections were going to look like. I just had the basic idea of, you know, exhibit, lagoon, mountain range in between, and viewing opportunities all over the place. So what I typically do when I don't really have an idea, but I also don't want to look up specific inspiration, like what I did with the Hadrosaur Hotel video that I did previously, is I just play around a little bit with the path tool, see what kind of angles the path snaps into. One trick I repeat a lot is what you see at the center right there. It's just small strips of a different path color that I'm going to highlight, I suppose, with planters and lights, just to break up the monotony of the path color a little bit. This, by the way, this is the tree brush that I was talking about, which I figured would give some color to this map. It really needed some color. Now, I don't feel like they fit too well in this biome, but it's good enough, and it's a park, you know, you can, it doesn't have to be natural. All of these trees could have just been planted for park design purposes, but it needed some color, so that's what I went with. But it is also the reason why I feel like it would have worked better in another park where you could have had denser foliage, you know, like the German map or one of the tropical maps. Just placing some lights along the fence, which is one of my favorite things to do. Just place a light at every support strut. That way it's really easy to get the spacing even, and it just lights up the fence nicely. What I did over here is just a little bridge. It doesn't really belong with the build itself, but I wanted to give it like a you know, a grand entrance. And here we have an overview of the exhibit and the lagoon if you want to recreate it for yourself. I think the concept of the combination of an exhibit with a lagoon like this, you can use that in many different ways. So, you know, apply your own creativity. I hope you find inspiration in this video and some of the other videos in this exhibit building series. The playlist is linked up above, so check that out if you're looking for more inspiration for your park builds. I will be expanding this series with more videos, so if you have a specific species that you would like to see an exhibit for, then leave those in the comment down below, because I will be taking suggestions into account. I think what I'm going to do next though is the Brachiosaurus. Go back to the herbivores, but make it big. And just in case I don't manage to crank out another video before the holidays, I want to wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, have a good time with your family. I hope you have a lovely and safe time, and I hope I will see you back here on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the jingle bell. Alright, thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the game.